Hello and welcome to another quick video from me, the History Tutor, and in this video we're looking at the AQA topic of Elizabethan England, and we're going to look at the explain question, and in particular we're going to explain how religion was a problem for Elizabeth. In this video then we're going to be revising Elizabeth and her middle way and how Protestants and Catholics reacted to it. We're going to do an explain question in detail so you can see what the top answer looks like. But firstly, look in my revision guide and revise your knowledge on Elizabeth's middle way and the different religious groups and how they reacted. We'll have a quick quiz. Okay, so if you're using my revision guide, then find the quiz and the answer page in the revision guide and see if you can answer these 8 questions about Elizabeth's religious policies and her middle way. So pause it now, looking through the revision guide, see if you can find the answers. Okay, so here's the answer then. So was Elizabeth the head or governor of the church? Now, she decided to call herself the governor to ensure that she didn't upset Catholics. Catholics could still therefore believe the Pope was the head of the church and Elizabeth was the mere governess or governor. So there's 2 ways Elizabeth tried to find a middle way in her religion to please Catholics and Protestants. So Catholics could worship at home privately and they could do their confessions and their rosary beads, etc. at home. Low recusancy fines for not attending church. So it was the law that everyone should attend church, and Catholics obviously might not want to attend because it was a mainly Protestant church, but there was low fines for non-attendance. And within Elizabeth's Protestant church, there were some Catholic ideas kept within it. So the priests wore gowns or vestments. Also, the church service book was very similar to the idea of a Catholic service book with a sort of structure of the church service to follow, whereas Protestants and Puritans might just want to focus on the Bible and not have a service book. And also, you have the structure of the church. So within the Catholic Church, you have the Pope and archbishops and bishops, and some Protestants wanted to remove that, but Elizabeth kept that structure in her church. Okay, what did the Pope do in 1570? So he announced the papal bull to excommunicate Elizabeth and telling Catholics it was their duty to overthrow Elizabeth from queen, so they might try and kill her or overthrow her. So this obviously led to more plots and rebellions. So this was swiftly followed by, of course, the Ridolfi plot. How did Elizabeth react to the bull and rebellions of 1569 and 1571? So she banned rosary beads and she increased recusancy fines. So she started to react to Catholics who might be trying to overthrow her with some punishments. So this papal bull and his rebellions undermined her middle way, and it started to be less of a compromise and more punishments for Catholics. Question number 5. Which group of Catholics arrived in 1580 to try and convert people to be Catholics? Well, we've got the Jesuits. So this is part of the Counter-Reformation. So Spain was sending these Jesuits in to England to try and turn Protestants back to Catholic. You also had the Douai monks as well, training people to come into England as part of the Reformation also. They were from France. How did Elizabeth react to Jesuits? So 1585, it was treason to have a Catholic priest in your home. So people started to have priest holes or secret rooms to hide priests in their homes because people might come and inspect their homes and try and find priests in them, and they could be obviously executed, the priests or even the people, for hiding them. So name a Jesuit was captured and executed. So a good example is Edmund Campion. He's one of the most famous ones caught and executed. Who did Elizabeth execute in 1592 for trying to make a separate Puritan church? So by the 1590s, Elizabeth was also executing Puritans. This might be because the significant Protestants in her government have all retired or died now. So thinking about Leicester and also Walsingham, Cecil to some extent, they've all passed on. So Elizabeth's starting to be stricter on these Puritans because there's nobody senior stopping her from doing it now. So Henry Barrett and John Greenwood are 2 good examples of people executed for their support of Puritanism as a separate church. Okay, so let's think about the question now. So you can see this question in your revision guide. Explain what's important about Elizabeth's religious settlement. So we want to think about the wording of this question now and think, how are we going to get 8 marks or maybe 6 marks so we've got a good set of marks? So look at the keywords in the questions and see if you can list a success criteria. Now, if you look to my other videos, we always do this. We always have a little think about what the wording of the question suggests we need to do. So pause now and have a bit of a think. Okay, so firstly we need to explain using our peel paragraphs. That's what we do for most of our questions. We're going to set up an argument. We're going to make a point and give an argument. Then we're going to explain it. So, of course, once you've made our point, secondly, we need to give an example from her religious settlement. Then explain the impact of this religious settlement. That could be on the people, it could be on Elizabeth. We can explain what was important in a variety of ways. We are not necessarily limited to just Elizabeth. It doesn't say explain what's important to Elizabeth. So we can talk about anything in England, society, politics, foreign policy even. So explain two important aspects of the religious settlement for 6 marks, and explain wider with different people, places and times with a furthermore if you want to get 7 or 8 marks. So it's a P paragraph for 6 marks, P paragraph with a furthermore for 7 to 8 marks. So let's do some planning then. So have a think about some points, have a think about some evidence, have a think about some explanations. Now, because we have to do 2 paragraphs and there are 2 denominations of religion, you could go for a Catholic paragraph and a Protestant paragraph, or a Puritan if you want to think more carefully about that. So pause now, have a bit of a think, look through the revision guide pages, see if you can come up with a plan of action. Okay, got an idea? So here's what I've gone for. I've said Catholics were upset by her middle way, her religious settlement, and it caused problems because some people were upset. So the evidence for that is the middle way was partly Protestant, with an English Bible, less icons, so statues, etc., banned, and fewer sacraments, so they banned confession, for instance. So this led to rebellions to overthrow Elizabeth and a counter-reformation. You could connect to Mary Queen of Scots, of course, as a Catholic queen. So it led to a succession crisis. So the interesting thing about this topic, this depth study, is that religion, marriage, rebellions, in particular, are interconnected. So because Elizabeth's not married, she's not got a clear succession, her religious policy leads to rebellions, and rebellions can be successful because there's no heir to the throne. Another impact then of Catholics could be led to Elizabeth punishing Catholics, and the middle way started to fail as Elizabeth feared being overthrown and feared the problems of Catholics. Then we got a second paragraph about Protestants. They're upset by it, and they tried to change the church as well. They didn't like the fact it wasn't far enough. It was too Catholic. So the middle way had vestments, had bishops, had prayer books, didn't focus on the Bible enough for them. So this led to arguments with Parliament, with the Vesterian controversy at the start of our topic, so it was 1566 to 68. And it led to attempts to set up a separatist church as well. Prophesying church, we've got also the separatist church as well. And it led to her eventually executing people. So let's see how we write this then. So we're still going to do our appeal paragraphs. We're going to set up our point. One way Elizabeth's religious settlement was important was that it led to Catholic rebellions to overthrow her. Okay, so you can go all the way to rebellions if you like. For example, her settlement said this, give your evidence. This was important because Catholics didn't like it, linked to rebellions. Furthermore, it's important, and then see if you can link to a wider idea. So let's now write this idea, shall we? So find the space in your revision guide and write the opening sentence. So one way that Elizabeth's religious settlement was important was that. We're going to do a Catholic paragraph. So have a think about how you'd open up your Catholic argument. Okay, away you go. Okay, so I've said one way that Elizabeth's religious settlement was important was that it upset many Catholics in England and began to fail. So let's think about an example now. So for example, talk about her middle way. What was wrong with the middle way for the Catholics? So I said, for example, her middle way included a Bible in English and ended many Catholic sacraments despite allowing Catholics to pray at home. So you could say more detail about confession, obviously would be a major one for Catholics. We're really upset with losing that. Now, explain the impact of this. This was important because it led to what? What happened? You could go to the papal bull and rebellions. Have a think. What would you explain as the impact? Okay, so I've said this was important because it led to the papal bull excommunicating Elizabeth in 1570 and Catholics attempting to kill Elizabeth in attempts to restore the Catholic Church, like the Ridolfi plot, the Throckmorton plot, and the Babington plot. Okay, so that's a nice, simple explanation. I definitely need a furthermore. I feel like I need to go further with that. So furthermore, this was important because, see if you can also explain more problems caused by her middle way. Okay, so I've said, furthermore, this was important because it led to the failure of the middle way. Due to the rebellions and the Jesuit counter-reformation, Elizabeth had to punish Catholics and abandon her middle way. In particular, by 1581, recusancy fines were greatly increased, and by 1585, Catholic priests would be executed. So her middle way essentially has failed. let's have a think about the other paragraph then. So now we're going to do Protestants. As with all my other videos, I'm not going to talk you through the second paragraph. You have a go at it yourself. So pause me now, think about your Protestant plan, write your idea, and then come back for an example answer. Okay, so here's what I've gone for. So mark yours against this. Have you got a nice opening point? So I've said another way Elizabeth's religious settlement was important was that it was upset Protestants as they saw it as too Catholic. So we need some evidence about how it was too Catholic now to support that idea. So I've said, for example, her settlement allowed Catholics to confess and worship at home. Priests had to wear Catholic-style vestments, and the service had a Catholic-style prayer book. So I've now backed up that idea with some evidence, and now I need to explain the impact. So this was important because and talk about how Protestants led problems, so how they caused problems with Parliament, etc. This was important because Protestants led complaints in Parliament. Walter Strickland led a protest against priests wearing vestments as they wanted a less popish church. Furthermore, it was important as Puritans became upset and tried to set up their own types of church. In the 1570s, Archbishop Grindal allowed prophesying meetings, and in the 1590s, Greenwood and Barrow tried to set up a Puritan separatist church, but executed. This shows that religious settlement was seen as too Catholic and Protestants had to try and create their own church. Right, so I hope that all makes really good sense. Now, Protestantism and the Puritan resistance is not everyone's favourite topic, I know, but there's only one page in the book necessarily and sort of a few bits in this revision guide. So some easy examples to remember there about the prophesying meetings and Greenwood and Barrow, just a couple of simple examples, and you have the makings of a good paragraph. So just make sure you know that they can ask you a question just on the Protestants. Hello, please allow me to interrupt with a short announcement about revision guides that I offer. These revision guides are packed full of revision notes and videos to help you, quizzes to help you, and up to 15 exam questions explained per revision guide. So if you need help and you need all your revision notes and you want to know how to get a top answer up to 15 different exam questions, then take a look at these revision guides. Also, if you want to know more or you want my help one-to-one, then take a look at my website to find out more about my revision guides and ways that I can offer help. Now, back to the video. Finally, have a think about some other questions in this style. So you could be thinking about religious problems Elizabeth faced in the 1560s and 70s, religious problems Elizabeth faced at the end of her reign, problem of marriage, problem of poverty, rebellions, Mary Queen of Scots. You could be thinking about all those ideas. Now, remember, of course, as I said earlier, marriage, rebellions, and Mary Queen of Scots are quite well interlinked with religion. So pretty much you're just sort of shuffling some of your ideas around as you plan and write those answers. Well, if you found that useful, then do have a look at my revision guides. They're packed full of videos just like this one, explaining how to answer the question, and also really good revision notes, nice and basic bullet point notes you can just read over and over again and memorize, as well as also talk through videos while I'm explaining all the content to you. So find the link to that in the YouTube video information to my Amazon page, and also for lots more videos, do subscribe and I'll keep you updated with more help so you can pass your GCSEs in flying colours. Well, hope to see you again soon. Bye bye for now.